Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
Once, the Knights of Scarlet rode the length and breadth of Athlon, steel-bound saints astride great horses, sworn to shield the helpless no matter the banner, the bloodline, or the god. Deepmaund was their cradle, and for a time, their beacon. But the Great Freedom War ended, and with it, the need for heroes not sanctioned by empire or coin. Now the walls of Deepmaund still rise proud against the sky, but the halls echo with ceremony, not swordplay. The knights remain, every last one recalled, but they no longer march. Some say they are keepers of tradition, others actors in rusted armour. The truth lies somewhere behind their red tabards and carefully polished smiles. What all know is that they haven't been the same since the loss of the Braveheart. Now all those who visit Deepmaund must decide for themselves, is it a place of purpose, or merely the grave of chivalry? Welcome one and all to Dice Company, where a group of old friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Tom, and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of the Order of the Heron. Order of the Heron, please introduce yourselves and your characters in reverse alphabetical order.
Oh, God.
What, of characters or our names?
Your choice.
Hi, I'm Harry, and I'm playing Tock, an imposing 6'8" automaton.
Hello, I'm Dave. I have a solid grasp of the alphabet, so I know that it's me next. And I play Bennie Quez, a not very imposing, approximately 5'6" rogue.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I play Vander Finnick, a half man, half bastard, and equally a fantastic grasp of the alphabet. Really poor riding on coattails there.
That and spreadsheets, so.
I'm Alex, and I'm playing Augustus, also an A, and Augustus is a toe drag swagging aristocrat.
I love it. Fantabulous, guys. And remember, we hope you're making mistakes, because if you're making mistakes, you are doing something. In the next chapter of Dice Company. Previously on Dice Company. After an extended break in Sanctuary, you finally found yourselves back aboard the Sterling and making your way to Deepmaund on the hunt for the blueprints of the infamous northern prison, the Fingers. The journey is short and uneventful, allowing you to land safely in the morning in a small wooded area outside of the city. You board the repainted Tamray stagecoach and make your way eastwards along the craggy path towards Deepmaund. It is tucked snugly between the embrace of the towering mountains to the north and a yawning abyss of a southern cliff edge. Its formidable walls have seen no action since the Great Freedom War, when they stood as guardians between the shifting tides, between Corlar Fife and Salazar's invasion from Ovik. With the war over, the need to keep the city protected has dwindled to the point where the great portcullis is lifted and the entry doors swung wide open. The echoes of ages past resonate in the architecture of the wall, although watchtowers on either side of the gates have been transformed into artisan staging points for the colourful tapestries that hang beyond them, suggesting of a new, more peaceful market life. As you approach, you see the sign outside which reads, "Welcome to Deepmaund." Despite its welcoming appearance, there are guards by the main gates. Unlike normal bounders, two of the guards are dressed in gleaming heavy armour. The breastplates have a black castle emblem in the centre. The third guard has deep red leather armour only and a prominent embroidered black heart emblem over his left breast. The two in armour are stood sentinel, while the third is checking documents from the short queue. As you join the queue, the cart 3 ahead of you enters the city and the line moves forward. Tock, You recognize the emblem on the heavy armor as that of the legendary Knights of Scarlet, a sect of knights who've always been the guardians of Deepmaund. From before the days of the Kalian Empire and even before the Kingdom of Cantioch, they have stoically stood in defense of the city. They care little for politics and who rules the region. Their oath is specifically to Deepmaund and lasts until the day they fall, or the city does. Because of their prowess, they are rightly feared, so much so that Deepmaund is one of the few places in Athlon where freedom to worship is still allowed.
Tock will relay that to the group, saying that this order assisted the Lionheart in defending the city from Salazar.
I take it then, Tock, we would be welcome if we were to pose as traders.
Vander, that may be the case. Human customs are unknown to me.
Insightful.
And Vander puts his hood up to obscure as much of his person as possible, and then gently cracks the reins to continue on in the queue.
Would merchants not need cargo, trading stock?
I believe words should suffice in this case, Tock. Let's face it, they're going to have to.
But they appear to be checking papers, and we haven't got none.
True enough.
Vander is going to try and surreptitiously send Bellerophon forward to see if I can catch some of the conversation about the papers.
You mean like huck him like an American football kind of thing? Or
No, I mean, almost the opposite of that. I want Bellerophon to scamper down and surreptitiously, covertly make his way towards so I can hear a bit of what's going on in those conversations.
Oh, give me a stealth check for Bellerophon.
The top score is 19.
Bellerophon crawls beneath the cart ahead of you, avoiding the gaze of anyone. He connects with you, Vander, and you overhear the guard ahead asking for tithe documents.
Don't like to brag, gentlemen, but I do possess a tithe document.
Well, I possess a tithe document, but I thought we were trying to go a bit under radar rather than using real names where possible.
Bennie, would your prodigious talents allow you to make the names of the tithe documents appear different to the eyes of the guards, while the rest remains the same?
Not in the 20 seconds we've got before we hit the front of the queue, it wouldn't, no.
Tock might be able to. Have you got any spare paper or parchment or anything? I couldn't overwrite it, but he could create a new tithe document real quick.
In 20 seconds?
Yes.
Is Tock a printer?
Vander, can you provide parchment?
Vander passes back some parchment surreptitiously while he continues to move forward in the line.
Tock will use his magical tinkering. Basically, he'll take them. His hand blurs over the page in a bit like a printer. And when he passes it back, it looks like handwriting. It's a little bit off because it's not been written like a human would write it, but it could easily pass as tithe documents for the bunch of you copying the one that Augustus had.
Vander waves the paper to cool it from the speed printing and then stows it in a robe's pocket.
After that, Tock will, of course, climb into the bag of holding where Tick is currently resting.
Just out of curiosity, what names are on these documents?
Yes, on the spot name time.
I have this prepared.
Oh, my word.
Oh,
I think you should read them out as the guards read them.
I think don't more like this.
Vander makes his way now to the front of the queue and patiently awaits contact with the guardsman.
The guard in the deep red leather armor walks beside the stagecoach. Tithe documents.
Well met, guardsman.
And Vander produces the tithe documents from his robes and dutifully hands them over.
He takes the documents and his eyes scan them. Are you here for business or pleasure?
Business.
And what business would that be?
Just simple traders.
Give me a deception check.
19.
All right, this all seems to be in order. He holds out the tithe documents and calls out the names one at a time. Blake, which one's that?
yeah, that's me.
Avon?
Yes, that's me.
And you're Vila.
Thank you kindly.
He hands you the documents back.
So Dave guessed correctly, and the other two got mixed up.
Move along, move along.
Vander cracks the reins.
Having successfully passed the scrutiny of the guards, you pass through the gate into the city of Deepmaund proper. Immediately upon entering, you are met with a huge statue of a man on a horse in full armor, raising a sword to the sky. By his feet is a stone hound, stood loyally next to him. Over 120 feet tall, the statue towers over people as they enter the western gates. The plaque on the base of the statue reads, "True heroism lies not in the strength of arms, but in the courage of the heart. Scarlet Warden Lionheart, Knight, Rojan, defender of the oath.
No traffic cone on his head then.
Bennie says, "Can you stop the cart, sec? Stop the cart."
Vander pulls the handbrake.
And Bennie hops out alongside Lenny the dog to check out this statue, specifically the hound at Lionheart's feet. Does it look very familiar at all?
It's roughly the same size as Lenny, but it doesn't resemble his looks at all.
Bennie takes a moment to kind of pace around it and look at it from various angles. He goes, "That's not you, is it, Len? That's not you. That's interesting."
What's interesting, dear Bennie?
Says Vander from the stagecoach.
Just a conversation I was having with Serafina back while you were out and about, wherever you were out and about. But I think she's made a mistake. It don't matter. Come on, boy, back in.
Interesting,
Says Vander, observing the statue.
a paladin who likes dogs. Quite unrealistic.
Augustus had previously been directing 100% of his scorn at the man and his dog, but he spares 10% of it for Vander.
Vander doesn't turn to look at Augustus, and yet he looks at Augustus.
He sees Augustus's eyebrows are close together, knitted in suspicion and concern.
I think it may be time to find a base of operations. An inn, gentlemen, I feel.
And Vander looks about to see if one is available.
From where you are, the majority of buildings are residential. Far in the distance along the road heading east are a series of vendors with stalls lining each side, and at the end is a marketplace with larger standalone buildings which could easily be inns or taverns.
I direct the coach in that direction.
As you move slowly along the street, the air is filled with the salty sea air of a bustling port city. The citizens are people of all shapes and sizes. Humans, gnomes, orcs, and the pointy ears of those with elven ancestry are easily identifiable. Others, less so. Tieflings, genasi, Goliaths, and halflings, to name a few. But in stark difference to other cities in Athlon, there are a number of people with obvious animal traits. Humanoid birds, cats, monkeys, and even a large elephant go about their daily life. The stalls lining the streets have vendors who try to get your attention, to sell you trinkets, rugs, spices, and pottery. Deepmaund is a melting pot, full of noise, chatter, chaos, and life.
Very eclectic.
Remarks Vander, casting around for a stall that sells chocolate.
Your eyes are drawn to a burning orange-skinned tiefling manning a stall covered with beautiful sweet treats of all shapes and sizes. In among the selection is chocolate, both in balls and bar shapes.
I draw the coach up by the store.
How much for one of those delicious chocolate bars?
There'll be 1 silver.
Fair price.
And Vander flicks 1 silver to the merchant while sending Bellerophon to retrieve the chocolate.
She catches it and watches as Bellerophon slowly crawls onto the table and his tongue sticks out, grabs the chocolate bar and pulls it back into his mouth as he then slowly walks back onto your lap. Be careful, it's hot.
Good advice.
Vander says, stowing the chocolate in a robe pocket, which must seem just awful from the point of view of someone who's passed him hot chocolate. I continue in the direction of where I believe we'll find an inn.
You reach the market square and you can't help but notice a standalone building resembling a large bungalow. It has a thatched roof and outside is a sea of pinks and pale blue flowers in beautiful hanging baskets. The main door is open.
I draw the coach up outside. Are there stables visible?
There aren't any visible stables, but the roads are pretty wide and you could easily leave a stagecoach at the side of the tavern without causing any issues. In fact, there are a number of horses tied to the front already.
I pull the handbrake.
Gentlemen, I believe we have arrived at a place of rest.
The hanging sign outside reads Mound by the Sea Tavern.
How quaint.
Vander waits patiently for someone to give him a lift down from the coach.
Bennie hops out.
Bennie, from the bag of holding you're carrying, you'll hear a muffled Tock's voice saying,
Bennie, shall I emerge from the bag of holding, or would it be wise to remain hidden?
Have a quick glance around to see if there's anyone paying any particular attention to us.
Give me a perception check.
10.
No one seems to pay you much of a mind, to be honest. The place is littered with such unique and interesting different people that actually your band appear a little bit mundane, really, in comparison.
You're fine to hop on out, Tock.
Tock will emerge from the bag of holding.
Right then, probably worth securing a place to stay before we start about our business. Can we remember our names?
Agreed, says Vander, climbing awkwardly down from the coach.
Because I am Blake Summit. What's my surname? And I have a look at the tithe document to gather my surname.
Blake is actually your surname. You are Roge Blake, so R-O-J Blake.
Roge Blake.
What about Avon? What's Avon's first name?
So Kerr Avon, K-E-R-R.
Vander looks down at his tithe document.
Villa is, his surname is Restal, R-E-S-T-A-L. For completeness, in this place, my name will be Aurak.
Of course.
And any listeners who've worked out what Harry is doing here, please let us know. Because it's definitely something. I just don't know what it is.
You get off the stagecoach and head into the Mound by the Sea Tavern. At this time of day, it's quiet, and inside are a number of wooden tables and chairs, and only one of them is occupied by a group of 6 people in deep red leather armour with the black heart. They look at you as you enter, with one in particular staring, but then they all go back to their conversation. Behind the bar, perched on a tall stool, is a squat, rotund goblin with long blonde hair, ruby red lipstick, and piercing yellow eyes.
What can I get ya?
We'll have a glass of creme de menthe if you have it.
Yeah, we got creme de menthe.
Excellent.
Sorry, can you remind me what time of day it is?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
It's like 9 a.m.
Excellent.
Perfect time for creme de menthe. It's like brushing your teeth.
Got maybe some tea and something to eat. That'd be great.
Yeah, breakfast platter we can do for you.
Lovely, thank you.
We will also be needing 4 rooms, barkeep.
Name's Doreen. We can do your 4 rooms.
Thank you, Doreen.
It'll be 3 silver a night. How many nights do you want?
I should think we will start with 2.
6 silver each, please.
Deducted.
Tock is doing his pretending to just be a normal automaton impression, which is not too difficult because he just doesn't talk. Did Vander basically get an extra room just for an automaton?
Yep.
He likes to stare into space.
Well, that made it less suspicious.
Your business is your own.
Ah, outstanding. So, gentlemen, I suggest we retire to a table and discuss our next moves.
Bennie is kind of looking at the Knights of Scarlet. Knights of Scarlet? I mean, I've read about them, but I've never seen any. It's pretty exciting, isn't it?
They are humans wearing red, Benny. There are many stories, but these humans are unlikely to have partaken in these stories and myth.
Yeah, but they're part of the tradition, aren't they? They're part of the story by being Knights of Scarlet. It's just a bit exciting being near them, that's all.
I agree, Benny. I've read stories of this group when I was a child, and I must say I'm excited to see it in the flesh for the first time.
As you guys are looking over at the table at them, the one who was eyeballing you the most when you entered begins to stare back. Do you want something?
No, apologies. First time in Deepmaund. Just saying, exciting to see Knights of Scarlet. Not seen any before in flesh. Just read stories. So apologies, didn't mean to stare.
Not just Knights of Scarlet. We are the Blackheart division.
That's a bit extra, is it? Sorry, excuse my ignorance.
We're new to the Knights of Scarlet. We are taking them to the next level. What are you doing in Deepmaund? He gets up and walks over towards you as you take your seats at the table.
Me pal here, and I point to Augustus, very keen to visit Temple of Tyr. So, bit of... Well, it's not sightseeing, is it? But you know what I mean.
Worshipper of Tyr, eh?
That's right, my friend. For my sins.
Kale, that's who you should be worshipping. He's the one true god.
Well, looks as if we may have to agree to disagree on this one.
Where did you say you were from?
I didn't.
Let's see your documents.
Kerr Avon is happy to proffer his documents.
Kerr Avon. What kind of name is Kerr Avon?
My name, sir.
You better watch yourself, because I'll be watching you.
Augustus knows enough not to reply to that kind of comment. There's no right answer to that, everyone. It's a trap.
I rather thought this place practiced a freedom of religions. Just an observation.
Vander says, hood down.
He turns his head slowly towards you. I didn't say he couldn't worship Tyr. I'm saying he shouldn't. There is a difference.
My apologies, then. The ears of an old man often hear other meanings than the ones expressed.
A slurp of the creme de menthe ensues.
You see the guy's expression is that of utter disgust. Having handed back the tithe documents, he kind of slightly uncomfortably shifts, says, yeah, well, you stay out of trouble, you lot.
We'll do our best.
Might I ask you one question?
Ask away.
What new direction are you taking your order in?
The Knights of Scarlet have long held the oath to protect the city, which is all well and good. But times are changing, and they're the old guard. The Blackhearts are the new guard. It's about time that we are brought up to date. You know, part of the Empire. All for one and one for all.
Drink to that.
Vander raises a glass.
Again, you see a look of disgust on his face.
I would like to shake the man who is so overtly a supporter of the Empire.
And Vander extends a gnarled hand.
Do forgive my appearance. The afflictions of a leper are many.
It's nothing I haven't seen before, and he grips your hand tightly and shakes it.
Vander dutifully allows the shake to go ahead, but as the guard withdraws his hand, he might find there is a smattering of hot chocolate on it.
You didn't go for the Order of the Heron secret handshake.
I thought about it.
He pulls his hand back, and then he looks at it for a moment, and you just see his hand dip down to his thigh as he just quickly rubs the chocolate onto the thigh of his trousers.
Oh, I do hope that's chocolate. My apologies.
Oh, it's just the worst.
And at this point, he turns around and walks away.
One for the parents out there, isn't it? I do hope that's chocolate.
There are many things you can fight, but disgusting isn't one of them.
Charming surroundings, gentlemen.
I must say, the Knights of Scarlet do not live up to the idyll I imagined from my childhood books.
Do you feel like maybe that's an imposed change rather than a chosen change by knights? I wonder where these black hearts have come from.
You think the Empire has installed some new parts and ruffians to haul the rest in a different direction?
It's a guess. It's not like the stories, is it? That fella.
While no story tends to survive contact with reality, I rather think Bennie's on to something.
I wonder how we'd find out a bit more. Might be worth keeping our eyes and ears open.
At this point, Doreen, the goblin, comes over and places in front of you, Benny, a cooked breakfast.
There you go.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much, Doreen. This looks delicious.
Anything else I can get you?
Could I trouble you for a breakfast as well, Doreen? And a creme de menthe?
No problem.
And might I ask you for a little information?
Information?
Oh, we just wondered, as our friendly neighbourhood barkeep, you might point us in a direction.
What are you after?
Where do the Knights of Scarlet base themselves in the city?
To the north, in the Scarlet Keep.
Very well, and is it open to visitors who are interested in this romantic order?
Of course. I wouldn't bother, though. They don't really do anything anymore.
How do you mean?
They used to travel around the world, you know, swear oaths to other cities, be the great heroes. Since the war, I ain't done anything else. Just hang around here.
Seems there has been a changing of the guard, so to speak. What know you of that?
Ah, the Blackhearts.
She kind of leans in.
I gotta be very careful, because they're in the room with us right now.
Ah, says Vander, mock surprise.
Rumour on the street is that the Empire's installing them as a way to take over the Knights of Scarlet.
What is the city's view of these events?
Well, the Knights of Scarlet, they're led by Commander Bastian Ironsteiger. But he's lost his edge, you know. He's an old paladin. He's lost faith. I reckon they'll just take it all over. I mean, they've already converted the temple in the centre of the city to a temple of Kale. Feels like it won't be long before they control the entire order.
What was the temple before they converted it?
It was a temple to Lograt, god of knowledge.
And Doreen, one final question, if I could trouble you. Is there still a temple of Tyr in this city?
Ha! Tyr? I'll be with the other temples that are small gods. It's next to the temple of Kale, in the shadow.
Augustus turns an aristocratic glare on Doreen.
What are you looking at me like that for?
I apologise, madam. I had hoped to see the Temple of Tyr as a follower of this small god.
Well, you'll be the first one I've ever heard of.
Well, there should be no queue then.
Don't mind him, Doreen. He's got some funny ideas. Might I trouble you with one final question, if it's not taking advantage too much of your fine hosting? But
Go for it.
is there a dwarven area of the city at all?
No, there's no doors around here. There ain't been doors around here for years.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Thanks anyway.
Why are you after dwarves?
Oh, I just wondered. Got an old friend who's a dwarf who I thought I'd heard that he'd moved here, but obviously I'm mistaken.
I like your robot, by the way.
Thanks.
Leans over and pats Tock on the arm.
Tock just doesn't respond at all. It's motionless.
Anyway, I'll get your breakfast.
She skitters away.
Like, thanks again, Doreen.
Thank you.
What do you reckon, Augustus? Empire spy? She seemed pleasant.
Certainly not, Bennie. She seemed extremely pleasant.
But Augustus, you suspect all pleasant humans we meet.
Well, it pays to be suspicious when one is being hunted by an evil empire.
Doreen brings the final breakfast over, and you guys can finish your breakfasts before moving on to your next step.
Gentlemen, I believe the time has arrived for us to decide on a plan. Apologies, how rude of me. Chocolate, anyone?
And Vander extends a chocolate-covered finger and waves it round the table.
What, inviting us to, lick a finger?
How you consume chocolate is a matter for you. I only give you the gift.
Augustus stares in blank horror and does not, I feel I have to clarify, lick the finger.
Oh well, more for me.
But Augustus, is chocolate not appealing to humans?
A good point, Tock. Going once.
Augustus isn't going to reply to that. He doesn't know how to educate Tock on this matter.
Logical induction would suggest that your disgust is linked to the appearance of chocolate as excrement. Is that correct?
It all adds to a heady mix, my dear friend.
Because I've never been put off a breakfast, but this is about as close as I've been. So if we could all just, give it a rest.
Many times in our travels we have been bereft of chocolate. I see standards have improved most unexpectedly.
And Vander's mouth closes over the finger in a ghastly slurp.
Anyway, we were going to create a plan. I thought we were here to get the blueprints.
Indeed.
That's why I was asking about a dwarf, you see. The name I've got as a contact is Halfir, which I took to be a dwarven name, but maybe I was wrong.
Do we know any more of where he might be located within the city?
I'm afraid not. That's the problem with the old sending stones. Limited word count, isn't it? Just Halfir. That's all I got.
If he is a dwarf, he may be involved in the smithing, metalwork, industry section of the city.
True, but Doreen reckoned there weren't any dwarves about, so...
There is nothing for it then but to choose whom to ask.
Yeah, I reckon not that gang over there.
Who in a city would be the most well-connected and least likely to sing our names or pass information to the City Watch?
I believe you speak of urchins, and as the possessor of hot chocolate, I believe I have the keys to this particular door.
I could have a wander down to Docks, have a word with some people involved in the semi-legitimate import-export business. They might have some ideas.
Legitimate adjacent.
Yeah.
As I'd mentioned, gentlemen, I'd hoped to visit the Temple of Tyr. Perhaps a priest would be another who would hold information on many people and whose business involves knowing the folk of the city, and who may also be somewhat discreet.
Plenty of leads to follow then, gentlemen, and I see no reason not to delight in them all. I say we finish our repast and begin our search.
Priest seems pretty tenuous, if you ask me. Sounds like Augustus wants to go sightseeing.
Augustus wants to visit the temple of his god, my dear friend. And one other thing, what about this keep? Should we, in our broader remit as the Order of the Heron, he says, under his...
Give me a stealth check.
Surely...
Oh, shit.
Tock will guide Augustus by kicking him with a quite a large booted metal foot.
That is a 19.
Incorrect. That is a 22.
Please continue. Like you go into hushed tones, and the light around you almost seems to dim, like you're in your own bubble.
Gentlemen, in our wider role as the Order of the Heron, given what we now know about what's happening in this city, it seems like a place that's ripe to be returned back to its natural state of not being controlled directly by the Empire. And perhaps if it's not yet formally controlled by the Empire, we might intervene in a small way, tip the scales away from Salazar's control. Is it worth investigating the keep, at least, if its doors are open?
It is as though you read my mind, Augustus. What a fine idea.
Tock will pass Bennie his tablet with writing on for Bennie to have a small read in, because he's absolutely not saying stuff out loud with stealth checks being in order.
While Tock is showing the thing, Doreen comes over with Augustus's breakfast and places it along with a creme de menthe.
Thank you, Doreen. Most generous.
So, where to start?
Shall we revert to type, gentlemen, and set out in twos?
So, me and Tock will head down docks to see if we can find out about this healthier chap. You go and, enjoy your temple, whatever it is you're doing. Maybe meet back here at lunchtime for a spot of more Dorian's cooking, and then we'll wander over to Keep.
Very well. Do we have any way to keep in touch with one another? Should we run into any difficulties? How far can you send Missy? Could you send Missy into the sky and we could look for her and take her as a sign of trouble?
No, not far enough.
Out of the bag of holding, a hand will come out holding a small stone. You probably recognise it as a sending stone.
Perfect. So Augustus sort of reaches out to take it.
The hand retracts back into the bag. They're left with one half of a pair of sending stones.
Vander, do you know how to use these stones?
I am familiar.
Very well.
Then off to do a spot of worship. How delightful.
And Vander stands awkwardly.
Yeah, you have to do a bit of confessing or something like that, Vander?
No, I shouldn't think so.
I don't think we have time, Bennie.
Not with a soul as clean as mine.
Bleach was necessary.
Dorian comes back over with the keys to your individual rooms, and then you head out in your pairs. Vander and Augustus. Following the instructions, you approach a small garden surrounded by a black metal fence with a single gate entrance. Behind it is a paved garden space with wide, flat grey slate stones weaving between flower beds filled with small plants and the occasional small tree. Hanging in the branches are small metal tokens, swords, shields, gauntlets, and other symbols of Tyr. Even a short way from the street, the ambient noise has reduced substantially. Set back in the garden courtyard is a simple stone building, big enough to house a handful of rooms, with the only notable design element being two stone pillars either side of the plain wooden door, which stands open. You hear a voice. Well met, friends! Stepping out into the daylight is a tall human man wearing gleaming silver armor and a white cape. His short hair and beard is neatly kept, but it's white with age, while his lined and lightly scarred face suggests a less than easy life. Tyr's blessing to you on this day. I am Pontus Cleef, cleric of Tyr. How can I help you?
It is a pleasure to meet you, Pontus. I am Augustus Zeno. I've been looking for you.
Oh, looking for me. How wonderful. And what brings you to the temple?
A rather strange matter. I am a follower of Tyr, but I'm somewhat new to it. You might say that Tyr has begun to speak to me just the last few weeks of my life. And now I feel I must educate myself about this god. I should say our god.
He speaks to you directly in your head.
Well, if I do not unsettle you by saying so, then yes, he does.
Some may call you crazy, but not me. I've heard of champions of Tyr before. This is great news. Fantastic. Please, come into the temple and bring a friend. I am Pontus, and he reaches out a hand towards Vander.
Vila Restal, at your service.
And the hand is taken.
Vila, Augustus, come with me, come. And he takes you inside the temple. The interior is plain and simplistic. A small water feature sits at the centre of the main room, surrounded on all sides by stone benches. On the back wall is a stone altar with the insignia of the gauntleted fist of Tyr. Pontus sits on one of the benches and beckons you, Augustus, to sit alongside him.
Vander looks around.
I do like religions that come straight to the point.
There really is no need to mess around with Tyr.
Very well, Pontus. You bring me to the point. How, if you do not mind me asking, does a priest wield, if that's the right word, or call upon the power of his god?
Well, providing one worships the god truly in his heart, the gods will gift a cleric certain abilities and powers, if you will. I have the ability to heal and to sense evil.
Vander withdraws a step.
You notice his eyes noticing you stepping back.
Could you indulge me and tell me if you can sense anything strange about the two of us?
He grabs a pendant hanging around his neck and places a hand on your left breast. And after a moment, it would seem that there's a darkness around you, friend. Something is wrong. And his eyes flick to Vander again and then back to you.
There's a darkness nearby you.
I can understand why you might be suspicious of my friend here, but I think your first instinct that the darkness is in fact around me was correct. I think I may know what is causing it, and I wonder if you might be able to help me.
Well, of course. Tell me more.
And Augustus slowly, so that it doesn't seem a threatening action, draws Ember and says, I picked up this sword some weeks ago, and it has certain powers. I can set the blade ablaze if I want to, but it has been brought to my attention that it is perhaps, well, cursed. It's all a rather embarrassing affair, as you can imagine.
A curse is a serious thing, my friend. Can you hand me the sword, or does it not wish to leave your possession?
To be honest, I do not even want to know what would happen if I tried to hand you the sword. Putting it down is, as you correctly identify, somehow a difficult thing for me to do.
If you could hold the sword and place it without letting go on the bench, I can certainly investigate it for you.
Please stand safely. I'm very disconcerted by this sword's apparent ability to control me.
I've dealt with worse than a cursed sword in my time, don't worry. And he begins to investigate Ember while the two of you watch on.
Augustus just glances at Vander because this feels a little bit like having a full strip search in front of one of your friends. Like, he obviously didn't prepare Vander for this. I guess Vander's a man of the world. I don't know.
Since I haven't burst into flames, Augustus, we must assume your god is a forgiving one.
Tock and Bennie, you make your way through the city of Deepmaund, and the path takes you noticeably downhill towards the southeastern corner and the docks district. At the bottom of the hill, the great walls stop at each side and create an inlet for ships to approach the city itself. The ships are of exotic design, the kind you've never witnessed before. Sleek and unusual, they're adorned with the flags of countries or regions you've never seen before. Guard towers at the end of each section of the great walls watch over the area, and on the harbour itself, sailors go about their daily business of loading and unloading ships.
So Tock takes this all in through the small periscope that is sticking out the top of the bag of holding, carried on Bennie's back.
Bennie, you identify a specific group of sailors who are unloading a ship on the jetty. They have a recognisable demeanour to you of people who are part of the unspoken underworld.
Potential, not 100% legitimate kind of chaps.
Indeed, they're dressed in white tops with blue hoops, and one of them even has an anchor tattoo on his bicep.
I wander over in an attempt at looking casual. Say, morning lads, how's it going?
Hello, friend. How can I help you?
Just wondering, I'm on the lookout for a fella named Halfear. Heard he does a bit of buying and selling. Wondered if you had any idea where I might find him.
I know Halfear, of course. He's the map maker, right?
That's the chap, yeah.
He's in the city proper.
Yep, you'll find him in the centre of town. He's got a little shop next to the Mound on the Sea Tavern.
Oh, right. I think I know where that is. Lovely. Well, thank you very much. I won't...
What do you want him for?
Oh, maps.
We got maps. What are you looking for? Maps of the sea? Maps of Garesh? Maps of Athlon? We can sort you out.
Oh, don't worry yourself. I've been recommended Halfear, but thank you for your offer anyway.
That's all right. Want some fish?
Do I want some fish? Is it right fresh, is it?
We caught it this morning.
Maybe I do want some. I'm trying to remember if I've ever had fresh fish, fresh off boat.
And he pulls open one of the crates, and inside he pulls out a bright red fish. Completely fresh.
I would like to see if I can work out if he is trying to have me over here. He's trying to trick me, or if he's just a straight up regular fisherman with a lovely fish.
Give me an insight check.
5. That is a natural one.
You have dealt with all sorts during your time. Very difficult to gauge whether people are trustworthy without actually doing something.
Go on then. What's the damage for fish?
Oh, couple of silver.
What's the worst that can happen? And I hand over my 2 silver for an enormous fish.
He pulls out a bit of brown parchment and wraps up the fish and hands it to you. He stops for a moment. What's that you got in your bag? And he reaches out and kind of dinks the top of the periscope.
Oh, it's just parts.
Parts of what?
I'm a bit of a tinkerer, you know. So as I travel about, if I see anything interesting, I tend to just pick it up and see if I can make something out of it. Bits of metal, scraps of wood, whatever I can find, really.
Give me a deception check.
That is a natural 1 for 6.
That's 2 natural ones on the spin.
We thought it was Augustus that's cursed.
Oh, don't you try and kid a kidder in the hands of a tinker.
if anything, you got the hands of a thief. And then he begins to speak to you in a language that you do understand. Tock, you can hear this language, which sounds like some weird bastardization of common. Atchas catch can. He's speaking to you in thieves' cant.
So I reply in the same language. Well, I never said I want a thief as well.
He laughs and takes the fish back from you and kind of puts it back in, and then he reaches his hand deeper into the crate and pulls out a different fish that's kind of bluish and multicolored, and he wraps it up. Here's your ish fish, nan gan. And he hands it to you, which means this is a better fish for you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
And he goes back to loading the crates off of the ship.
And I take my leave, heading back in the direction of the tavern where we left a short while ago.
After nearly 10 minutes of study, Pontus looks up. Well, it's definitely cursed. I can remove the curse for you.
Very well. It sounds like a sentence that has a but.
No, these things are not free, and even though we both worship the same god, I'm sure you understand that services cost money. 135 gold to remove a curse.
Very well.
I should warn you, any abilities that were available to you before will no longer be available to you once the curse is removed.
Abilities granted by the sword, you mean?
Correct.
Take away all your paladin skills.
If it would just take away my friends, I'd be fine. Also, peanut gallery.
Oh, I missed it. God damn it.
Or Tock and Bennie just looking in through the window of this little temple, eating popcorn and slagging off Augustus. Yeah, Augustus is fine with the money and definitely wants the curse lifted up.
Having handed the gold coins over, with solemn reverence, Pontus stands before the cursed sword Ember. With a whispered prayer to the god of justice, the cleric extends his hand, channeling divine energy through his fingertips. They glow with a soft, radiant light. The light envelops the blade, and you see flames of shadow writhing and recoiling, struggling against the cleansing power of this righteousness. With a final incantation, the flames weaken, and you hear in your head, "No, no, no." As it fades away, the curse finally banished from the sword with a burst of holy energy that momentarily illuminates the small temple. There we are, my friend. One curse removed.
So Augustus exhales slowly, and then in his head says, "Speak to me, Tyr."
Roll a D100.
47.
No response.
Pontus, thank you, first of all, for your efforts. And actually, Augustus was going to say, how will I know that this has worked? But actually, instead of that, he's going to stand up and try simply to leave the sword lying on the bench.
With the curse lifted, you remove your hand from Ember and leave it inert on the stone bench.
Pontus, can I leave this blade with you to dispose of safely?
Of course, my friend. I feel I should at least give you some money for it. It is still a fine elven-made rapier.
Augustus glances at Vander here for kind of guidance because his mind's kind of full of what's just happened.
Sword is still a sword. I see no reason why you cannot use it now for good, as far as those words don't exactly trip off the tongue.
Never have inverted commas been so heavily and said, for good. In that case, Augustus does sheathe the sword, but as he does, he says, Pontus, you're certain this sword poses no further threat. It is simply now a sword.
It is a sword. Nothing more. A sword is always just an extension of the user. There is no curse, there is no evil creature, demigod, demon, or anything associated with this weapon anymore.
Very well. Before I leave, might I ask you, as I'm a young follower of our god, do you have any advice on someone setting out on that path, and how one might understand Tyr better?
Of course, my friend. Let's sit and talk properly. And he sits back down on the stone bench and beckons you to do the same.
Yeah, Augustus sits down and waits to see whether Vander wants to join a religious discussion. Maybe we can sing Kumbaya.
Vander is perusing the walls of this rather drab temple.
Let us start with what led you to Tyr in the first place. What is it you are hoping to achieve?
I had followed Tyr, as you might say, somewhat casually for some time. But then I was in a former temple of Tyr in Slateholme, and I heard his voice in my mind. And that set me on a path that has very rapidly changed my perspective.
So you heard the call to action and you answered.
Yes, it sounds rather grand, but that is, it happened as you describe.
I'm not sure it sounds grand. It certainly sounds realistic. Adventurers, of which I am guessing you are both. And he looks at Vander, who's currently studying the drab walls of the temple.
Got a few miles on the clock, that guy.
You have seen many battles already, I presume?
Well, rather in keeping with my religious education, I was casually religious and casually a soldier in waiting for much of my life. And then, all of a sudden, a religious conversion and a great deal of violence has happened.
They often go hand in hand. I think you worry too much, dear Augustus. You have been summoned to act, and you have acted. As long as you continue to do so, you will follow the righteous path of Tyr.
I certainly hope I will, and I'm grateful for your help and Tyr's help in steering me away from what felt like a dangerous path that the sword had set me upon.
I'm always happy to help, and perhaps, as adventurers who answer the call to action, I could ask a favor of you.
Yes, of course. And indeed, you yourself appeared like that you may perhaps have had a few adventures of your own.
I'm an old man now. The days of adventuring are long past. But I have been concerned in recent weeks of a shadow that's grown over this city. A ship arrived from the continent of Goresh. And if you listen closely to the streets, as I often do, you hear tell of a trio of mysterious women, dark acolytes. They were seen entering the Temple of Kale, but have, by all accounts, never left. The drums of rumor have dubbed them the Sisters of Mercy. And then, 2 nights ago, this was left on the steps of the temple, and he reaches under the bench where he's sitting and produces a small, well-carved wooden box with a thick silver locking mechanism. As you can see, it bears the hallmark of the symbol of Kale, and try as I might, I cannot open it. But it's not just this temple. All the temple to the small gods have received similar boxes, none that can be opened, all of them left on the same night. Do you have any expertise in opening said box?
Well, we have a friend who could open it as if it was made of chocolate.
And he turns to Vander. Are you the friend?
I'm afraid not. My friend here is... We have 2 friends who might assist us here. One with great skills at picking locks, and another with great strength. Might I take this box away and we could attempt to open it? Or should I bring them here?
You may take the box away. And if you can open it, if you could let me know what's inside, I would consider that a favor.
Well, we shall certainly do that. Do you suppose this is some sort of threat to the small gods, as the temples of the other gods?
I have lived long enough to see strange deliveries in the middle of the night in unlockable boxes as nothing but threats.
Very well. And might I ask you, do you know anything of the recent changes to the Knights of Scarlet?
It is a sad matter. I've had nothing but respect for the Knights of Scarlet for many years, but they've become isolated. They were once the finest swords the realm has ever seen, and now, under Bastian Ironsteiger, they spend their days often in the Great Hall, and he just asks for guidance from any god that he thinks might be listening. It's sad, but the idea that the Knights of Scarlet should ever need a subsect is preposterous. And I will say this, though. The Blackheart name is at least accurate.
How do you mean?
Their leader, a man by the name of Warden Knox, is a nasty piece of work. He's no knight, and yet he has found himself in a position of power over the Blackhearts.
We understand that Blackhearts are a relatively new and sinister addition to the Knights of Scarlet. Do you see any possible connection in terms of the timing of these events with the arriving here of the so-called Sisters of Mercy?
It is possible. The Blackhearts are known followers of Kale, and they spent a lot of time in the temple. It seems almost inconceivable they would not have crossed paths with these women.
Very well. It seems the claws of Kale and the Empire intend to reach out further within this city. We will certainly do what we can to burn those fingertips.
Answering the call to action once again. Marvelous.
Marvelous indeed, my friend. Well, I feel we've taken enough of your time. We shall take your box, we shall attempt to coax it open, and then to smash it open, and either way, its secrets will spill forth into the light.
Almost immediately upon leaving the Temple of Tyr, you can see a kid running down the street, and he's hitting a strange hoop with a stick.
Ah, child,
says Vander.
He comes up to you. All right.
I was wondering if you might be predisposed to tell me a little of the keep for maybe some coin or chocolate.
I like chocolate.
Excellent. You're in luck.
And Vander scoops his hand through his pocket and produces a gob of chocolate.
The kid eyes it hungrily.
It is of the finest quality.
What do you want to know?
Well, I am a curious gentleman and was wondering if I was interested in finding out more about that keep over there.
Vander pointing in the direction of the northern keep.
Oh, I might enjoy a private tour, say one where I could make my own entrance and exit.
The kid looks at you slightly vacantly. You're a fairly good judge of character. This does not appear to be the brightest star in the sky.
Ah, I see the fires of intellect in your young eyes.
Huh?
Please, I interrupt you. Do go on.
You can go into the keep whenever you want. The doors are always open.
Ah, I see. Well, I take it you know no more of this Temple of Kale.
The Temple of Kale used to be a temple to Logrut, but now it's to Kale. And we should all worship Kale, just like the Emperor, because the Emperor's in charge, see? And the person who's in charge, he knows best, see? That's what we should do. That's what my dad says.
Of course, I appear to have exhausted your faculties. Please take this chocolate and know that you have given me a fear of the future.
Before you've even finished your sentence, his hands have kind of reached in to grab the glob of chocolate and he's just shoveling it into his mouth.
Ah, yes. Well, that was unfortunate. You continue, child.
And Vander slithers on.
Let us hope, Augustus, that the others in our party have found the answers we seek, for I believe that we have traded the weakness of weaponry for a mystery.
Well, I, Vander, feel that a cloud has been lifted from me. I'm ready to take on whatever challenge awaits us in this city.
Fighting talk. Excellent.
Let's maybe perhaps get some creme de menthe to double our courage.
I see that as a fine plan.
You're both in your second round of creme de menthes at like 10:30.
Your ears are exquisite, Bennie.
Peanut gallery. Bennie and Tock, you head back to the Mound by the Sea Tavern, and next door you see a very small shop. It's quite easily missed.
Before we go to the shop, could I pop into the tavern and see if Doreen's about?
You head into the tavern where you find Augustus and Vander are both drinking creme de menthe.
Roll my eyes. Ignore them.
Bennie!
Vander raises a glass.
All right, Vander. Keeping busy, making yourselves useful.
Very well, thank you.
Excellent stuff. I have brought us a treat. Oh, Doreen.
Hello?
I was wondering, would it be possible? We were planning on coming here for his lunch. Would you be able to cook up this fish for us?
She gives it the once over.
Yeah, I should think so. How do you want it cooked?
What would you recommend? What's the local speciality?
Well, I'll cook it in a pan normally.
Yep, that sounds just fine. Thank you.
All right.
She takes the fish off you.
Wave to Augustus and Vander and say, see that? Got us a treat because we've all been so busy. Right, come on, Tock. And I head to the door.
Bennie!
Vander stands.
Yes.
I don't suppose you had any joy regarding our questions.
Finding it weird you're not using me name, Roge. Thank you, Villa, to do that in the future. Just next door. We're just on his way.
He was next door the whole time.
He was next door the whole time.
Ah, well...
Augustus roars with laughter.
And from behind the bar, Doreen says,
Are you talking about Halfare?
Oh, God.
That's right, Doreen.
He's next door.
Yeah, I know.
Under the big sign that says Halfir.
Not a dwarf then.
Why is a tiefling?
My fault. Made assumptions. Right, anyway.
I might join you then.
Oh,
And Vander comes to stand next to Bennie.
treat. Come on then.
And I shuffle out.
Yeah, Augustus follows the conga line.
You head out of one building, walk next door to Halfir's small shop. To be fair to you, there's no discernible signage, but the front door is open. And actually, now that you're here, you can see that a small group of Knights of Scarlet have just walked away from the premises.
I poke my head in the open door and say, "Hello, are you open?"
Oh no, sorry, we're closed today, and probably for the foreseeable future.
Oh,
You see a tiefling with dusky purple skin and short curled horns. He's clutching a piece of parchment, and he looks furious.
that's a shame. You were very highly recommended to me.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, all of my supplies have been stolen. I was burgled last night, and they've taken everything. Sketches, maps, a lifetime's work, gone in a night.
Is that what the knights were here for? Bit of investigation, if you like.
Yeah, useless though. I don't seem interested at all.
No leads or out like that?
I don't know, there's thieves everywhere in the city now. It's not like it used to be. It used to be an upstanding place where you could rely on the Knights of Scarlet to protect you. Now we've got black arts and worshippers of Kale. It's awful.
That's a real shame, because I was told you'd got some fairly, how to say it, unusual maps that'd be kind of tricky to get elsewhere.
You're not wrong there. And then he looks at you properly for the first time, having put a piece of parchment on the ground. Huh. What are you? Some kind of adventurers? Mercenaries?
Adventure sounds nicer, doesn't it?
Do you do jobs for coin?
Yeah, at time.
And you say you're after something of mine. What exactly do you want a map of? I presume it's a map.
Yeah, that's right. It's a map.
I ain't got any treasure maps if that's what you're after. I'll stop you right there.
No, not after treasure map. Interested? Don't take this wrong way, Halfir. But aren't you slightly worried about where some of your maps might end up? Because have you maybe got maps to places that perhaps you shouldn't have maps to?
He looks at you for a moment. Vander, you can certainly tell that he looks uncomfortable. And he moves quickly towards the door and closes it. What have you heard?
Well, just that you might be able to provide us with maps to somewhere that people might be surprised we have a map of.
Speak plainly.
Bennie weighs it up, looks closely at Halfir. Maybe tries to do an insight check to try and get a sense of him.
Give me an insight check.
9. It's going well today.
He doesn't seem untrustworthy. He doesn't seem like a con man or anything like that from what you can gauge. But beyond that, he just looks like a furious person who's been burgled.
Looking for a map at Fingers.
Oh, the fingers. Oh. Yep, I have a map of the fingers. I've got a blueprint. I was the one they hired to help design it. Awful place. What do you want a map of the fingers for? Well, you know what? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. So you're looking for a map, and let's just call it the map from now on.
Mm-hmm.
And I am looking for someone to get back all of the maps that have been stolen from me. Feels like we can make a trade.
Feels like I'm not really in a position to say no, doesn't it?
Well, either you're adventurers or you're not. You can always say no. If you're not going to take it seriously, I can always find someone else.
Well, I want the map, and if those are your terms, got any ideas where the stuff is?
I've got a couple of ideas. Pretty sure there's a gang of thieves that hang around in the old guard barracks to the southwest of the Scarlet Keep.
Right.
I mean, if you're feeling particularly brave, you could always speak to Commander Ironsteiger. I doubt he's got much knowledge of it, but he might have actually woken up for once and opened his eyes and might know a little bit more about the thieves running around here.
He's head at Scarlet Knights, isn't he?
That's right.
So he'd be at the keep, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Or I suppose you could try Warden Knox, here the Black Hearts. I don't know where you'd find him, though. Maybe in the armory?
All right.
Strikes me as the type. Not sure I trust them, though. But if he gets my maps back... Now, you're going to take this seriously, aren't you? This is my livelihood we're talking about here.
Of course I am. Yeah, why wouldn't I?
I don't know. And he looks around at the Augustus and Vander who has stood beside you. I think that's a fair trade to me. I'll happily give you the blueprints if you can get back my stuff.
All right. What sort of volume of stuff are we looking at, you know?
Well, the most important thing, there's a large leather-bound volume which contains all of my most valuable sketches and blueprints and maps. If you can get that, that's all that really matters.
All right. Be on my way. I dare say you'll see me again soon.
And he goes back to trying to clear up the mess that is the inside of his very small shop. You guys leave the shop, are all together. Where would you like to go next?
Fish lunch.
I assume the fish is now cooked, so certainly, says Vander.
Working out a plan over some fish.
You walk next door, where in the short time since you've left, the fish has been very quickly cooked. Upon seeing you, Doreen brings out a silver platter with the fish on it. It actually, to be fair to her, it looks perfectly pan-fried. And she puts out 4 plates, obviously not 100% sure whether automatons eat or not.
There you go.
Lovely. Thank you, Doreen. Looking forward to this. Local delicacy. Perks of travelling, isn't it? And Bennie tucks in with gusto.
This is fine fish indeed, Bennie. An excellent sale.
Good, isn't it?
Delicious.
Did you get whatever you need to do done at the temple? Satisfied that your religious devotion's complete and we can get on with doing useful things?
Actually, I rather feel that I'm only just beginning my religious conversion. I have considered visiting the Temple of Kale and paying my respects.
Paying your respects, Vander.
Indeed.
Do you think, Vander, that entering such a place would be wise on your own?
It is my experience that few places hold things more terrible than I, so I've decided to take a quick peek.
But Vander, the god Kale is an evil god. If anything was more terrible than you, it would be an evil deity.
Well, at least we wouldn't rhyme light for discussion whilst in communion.
Well, I fancy staying well away from Temple of Kale, very much. Visit to old Ironsteiger sounds like it might be worth doing, though.
Indeed. Another lead to follow, most certainly.
I would find that to be acceptable.
Right. So we split up.
Might I suggest that we meet back here before beginning our discussions with the thieves at the old barracks?
Yeah, happy with that.
Excellent.
Should we gain information about the thieves? Scouting, subterfuge.
Please scout and subterfuge to your heart's content, Tock. I believe, gentlemen, we have a box to share. One that may require your skills.
Turning his eye in the direction of Bennie.
So Augustus looks around. We don't have any black hearts or any other suspicious folk in the bar?
Nope, the tavern is currently empty.
Fine, so kind of somewhat cautiously, as if carrying an unexploded bomb, Augustus brings out the box and explains its provenance to the others.
Bennie examines it to try and see if they can work out what the mechanism is or if there appears to be any sort of trap involved.
Okay, give me a quick investigation check.
At last, 24.
It's a fairly simplistic lock mechanism. The lock is not on its own, however. There appears to be a kind of a trap element to it. You can certainly try and use your thieves' tools to open it, but if it were to fail, there would likely be consequences.
This maybe don't seem like the thing to do in a public bar. There's definitely some sort of mechanism in here that wouldn't want to be right close to if it goes wrong. And it may draw attention.
I see. What do you suggest then?
Maybe take it to one of his rooms?
Perhaps your room.
Right. So Bennie picks up the box and heads to his room.
I would volunteer my room. It is not needed for sleeping.
That's not a bad shout. Thank you, Tock. So yeah, head to Tock's room.
Cool. You all head to Tock's room. You place the box on the bed.
And then I encourage everyone to step backwards so that we're about as far away from the box as possible. Like it's all in the far corner, essentially. And then I attempt to open the box using my mage hand so that I'm not in the vicinity.
Very nice. Give me a thieves' tools check, please.
24.
A DC 20 check.
This is where a plus 10 thieves' tools modifier comes in fairly handy.
You guys recognize Bennie's mage hand as it takes the thieves' tools floating over to the box. Doesn't take very long at all before you hear the now familiar click of the box opening. Inside, there is a bouquet garni, a collection of herbs and plants tied with a piece of string. There is a bitter smell to the collection, and with the box open, you can see inside the locking mechanism is set on a timer attached to a piece of flint and a small torn piece of cloth that's doused in oil. Tock, you know the bouquet garni is traditionally used in cooking, but this particular combination of herbs, including lobelia, chaparral, and larostet, when burned, can cause a potent paralysis to those foolish enough to inhale the fumes.
This appears to be a paralysis poison through vapor, smoke.
Do we understand, gentlemen, that this box would somehow have ignited after time, or only when someone was foolish enough to open it incorrectly?
We suspect the latter.
It looks like there's some sort of timer on this. It was set to go off in 2 days.
Ah, the plot thickens then. So in 2 days' time, every member of the clergy throughout the city would have been paralyzed.
Seems safe to assume. Also, we'll still be paralyzed if we don't tell him.
Very true.
It would appear this box is a trap.
And he should have been sent out to all temples.
Priest observed then, most certainly a threat of sorts, though now a useful tool in our possession.
Very true, Vander. I wonder if perhaps you might encourage one of your never-ending army of street urchins to visit our friend Pontus and warn him about this and ask him to warn the other temples.
If I find one capable of carrying such a complex message, then certainly it will be done.
Or perhaps it could be simplified to don't open the boxes.
Perhaps a written note would suffice.
As ever, your advice, gentlemen, is a near invaluable resource.
Vander rises from his squatted position of trying to protect his body from a potential explosion.
I have a religion to convert to, and I believe you have your meetings also. In which case, Kale be praised.
And Vander makes his way to the door.
And Augustus hands Vander the sending stone that Tock had given to Augustus.
Most kind.
And Vander pockets it.
Take care, Vander. This god is not to be trifled with.
Your candor is most touching. I've yet to be trifled with by any god.
But yeah, it's followers you want to worry about, though, isn't it? Even if you're not scared at God.
True, but when you hang to life in such a tenuous way, fear doesn't tend to enter into your thinking too malevolently. A fine day then, gentlemen. We have already exchanged a curse for a mystery and bargained one map for many. Who knows what our negotiation skills will achieve next?
And with a plan made, you split up, with 3 of you heading towards the Scarlet Keep, while Vander makes his way to the Temple of Kale, alone. And we'll end it there.
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Bennie Quez, Alex Morrison as Augustus Zeno, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, and Harry King as Tock, with Tom Patrick as your Dungeon Master.
The humans of Dice Company would like to thank the following sweethearts for their support. Marshall 001, Marky B, Darcy Thompson, Jenny the War Camel, Stephen Sakura, Nori Gosler, Mickey Arnold, Happy Daddy Scotty, Tika, SJ Phionics, Richard Ungamus, Rabbi Camel, Team Vander, Paris Pakar, Path Pursuit, Julia Zeno, Shovels, Mama Strange, Queenie, Liz Beckett, Axel Runholm, and Chris from North London.
I hear you guys are doing a sharp night every week, by the way. Fucking magnificent.
Did you say shark or sharp?
Sharp. I mean, it could have been shark.
Both are great.
Yeah.
Jaws and Sharp are basically our 2 most go-to things.
Double headers.
Fantabulous, guys. And remember...
Such an asshole.
I went a little bit... I put about 15% too much on that.
That was very smashy and noisy.
It was, wasn't it?
Which is about the period of our references. So happy with that one.
I don't want to be like a rule stickler, but I think he also gets.
You
benefit
fucking
for
love
being-
being a rule stickler.
He should also get a benefit for being tiny as well.
Well, let's see what he rolled first, and we'll worry about the tiny afterwards, you motherfucker.
But Augustus, you suspect all pleasant characters we meet.
Do we refer to them as characters?
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, that's a bit. But Augustus, you suspect all. Sorry. That's got me.
Forgotten the name of them again. Who are the red arrows? What are they called?
Red arrows? You are killing my lore here.
I would jump in, but it was peanut
It's a
gallery.
scarlet.
You're goddamn right it is.
I mean, the next time I have an underwhelming interaction with a child, I'm going to end it by saying, "Know that you have given me a fear of the future."
Lore.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our Linktree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.